It appears that Republican senators were deeply involved in former President Donald Trump's impeachment defense, far more than we had actually known before. So now this is according to a new book shared with HuffPost, an exclusive. They note that Republican senators were far more deeply involved in orchestrating President Donald Trump's defense in his first impeachment trial than previously known. Politico's Rachel Bade and the Washington Post's Harun Demirjian offered a behind-the-scenes look at the two failed efforts to remove Trump from political power. First attempt, which began in 2019, culminated in an early 2020 Senate trial, dealt with Trump's withholding of aid to Ukraine on the condition that the country's president, Volodymyr Zelensky, would announce an investigation into Biden and his son. Now, the House, look, that was it was a perfect call. It was a great call. Well, the House didn't think so. They impeached him for abuse of power. However, of course, as we know, it played out that the Republicans in the Senate overwhelmingly backed Donald Trump. 99-1. Or sorry, not 99-1. No. It was, the majority was all the Republicans in the Senate, except for Mitt Romney. So, just want to correct myself. That said, Trump and his defense team had maintained that he had done nothing wrong through January of 2020 trial, and that no quid pro quo had taken place, even though he was caught on tape telling Zelensky to quote unquote do us a favor by launching a probe of Biden ahead of the 2020 election. You also had Trump lawyer Alan Dershowitz, who, by the way, no longer treated warmly in Martha's Vineyard. Oh, how sad. He argued before the entire Senate that Trump could have done whatever he wanted to get himself reelected if he believed that his own reelection were in the public interest. Oh, hey, go ahead and break the law. As long as it's, as long as you believe it's in the country's interest, you can do whatever you want. Shoot somebody on Fifth Avenue, go ahead. Now, imagine if Democrats want to make that argument. We're doing something that is, again, an overwhelmingly political move, right? In order to try to win an election. I mean, you can't do that. You can't make that argument. And so, look, when Biden does some, for example, measure of student loan relief and or legalizing, not legalizing, sorry, but decriminalizing, marijuana, which he hasn't done yet, but he's taken some steps to do, Republicans have screamed. Dictator Biden, shredding the Constitution. He must be impeached. And yet, Donald Trump does this, and Republicans are like, what? Well, perfectly good call, perfectly good call. Now, that's what they were saying publicly. However, behind the scenes, Republicans were not happy with this. They were actually quite alarmed. According to the book, Senator Roy Blunt told Trump's team to fire Dershowitz on the spot, whereas Ted Cruz had warned them to switch tactics, saying that they were not going to be effective. Quote, out of 100 senators, you have 0 who believe that there was no quid pro quo. None. There's not a single one, Cruz reportedly said at one point. That's Ted Cruz. Yeah, he knows. And by the way, that contradicts what Republicans were publicly saying about those same charges at the time. None of them believed that there wasn't quid pro quo. And there's Ted Cruz saying it, but that's not even like the best reaction. But first, look, Cruz is a lawyer, or was a lawyer, and he knew a little bit about the law and was like, yeah, this looks pretty bad. Graham, his response was more telling. After Trump's legal team fumbled responding to a senator's question about calling new witnesses, Graham basically stormed off, yelling, quote, "We are fucked. We are fucked." But wait, that's not how it turned out. Again, Republicans controlled the Senate. And if they would have to vote on this as they served as the jury. So now, if everybody in the Senate agrees that this was quid pro quo and was an impeachable defense, then, well, why didn't they vote that way? Well, it's because it's about power. They put their power ahead of doing their jobs. Again, they're supposed to be neutral as jurors in the Senate, but we can see that they were anything but neutral. They, in fact, were even able to get other so-called moderate Republicans to try to stop witnesses from being called. And they were right. One witness was John Bolton. Now, John Bolton is a complete and utter ghoul. We know that. There's an award that John Bolton doesn't like. But Bolton's like, yeah, I can testify that Trump had told me specifically that he had withheld military aid from Ukraine, which eventually they were shown to have actually needed because they were invaded later by Russia, in order to obtain an investigation into Biden and his son. So he wasn't allowed to testify, though. The Senate voted against it. Then Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell played a pivotal role in doing so, in convincing GOP Senators Lisa Murkowski and Lamar Alexander, Tennessee, to vote against hearing from witnesses at that trial. Because they realized that those witnesses would be incredibly damning for their case. And that if they publicly were like, yes, we'll listen to the witness testimony and we're still going to vote for Trump, we're still going to, say that Trump is not guilty, well, that's going to look really, really bad. I guess not that it would matter in hindsight, due to how, Republicans bend over backwards to support Trump, no matter what he does. Still, at the time, Republicans were like, yeah, we can't have this. We cannot let these people testify, because not only, and their reasoning is, it'll divide the Senate and we'll lose control. Again, all about power. In fact, here's what McConnell told his caucus. Quote, this is not about the president. It's not about anything he's been accused of doing. It has always been about November 3rd, 2020. It's about flipping the Senate. So understand that that's giving away the whole game. They don't care about anything except for power. So you have to understand that. It's not about the law. It's not about holding him accountable. They're like, we don't care. We don't care. Oh, he could break as many laws as he wants. We don't give a damn as long as we're in power. And of course, we're going to also make up things and promise to go after Joe Biden if we get control in order to take away his power. Because that's the whole point. That's why, by the way, Republicans, yes, still behind Trump, and are behind Herschel Walker. Herschel Walker, who paid for an abortion of an ex-girlfriend. So, look, I don't care. I think it's totally fine. I think it's totally moral if you can go get an abortion and you pay for it. That's fine. But it's the hypocrisy that is the problem. And all of his advisors, Republicans that were pushing him and supporting him, they all knew that Herschel Walker did this. They knew about his past. They don't care. They know he's a liar. They know he's a hypocrite. They know he doesn't care about being pro-life. Because remember, none of them do. Because it's never been about life. It's always been about power. It's always been about control. And they also don't care that he has literal brain damage. But it doesn't matter. I showed you the video here of Dana Loesch, who said the quiet part out loud. She said, I don't care. I don't care if he, aborted baby eagles. I don't give a damn what he's done. This is not about him. This is about taking power. This is about the Senate. So understand what Republicans are there for. They don't have any morals. They don't have any core. The only thing that they have ever cared about is getting and maintaining power.